guys, welcome to my channel. Let's talk about all the horror I've watched recently. Okay, I don't think I've done this in like 2 months. So this is going all the way back to July. July, I watched Talk to Me in theaters. It is sure to be my favorite horror movie of the year. I did a full review on this one. It's about a group of kids who discovered this embalmed hand and essentially use it as like a party trick or a party drug where it allows them to communicate with the dead. It's really intense at times, it was shocking at times, it's heavy, and I really like what they did with it. I highly recommend it. Then I checked out Infinity Pool, which is the latest from Brandon Cronenberg, and this movie is weird, as expected, because Cronenberg movies are just weird from both father Cronenberg and son Cronenberg. This one is about a couple who are staying at this like exclusive luxury resort and they meet this interesting enigmatic stranger played by Mia Goth who wouldn't be seduced by her really, and she and her husband invite the two on like a little adventure outside of the hotel and things go wrong, horribly wrong. This movie was weird. It's just weird and I don't understand. I guess I kind of understand, but I really don't. And it's just, it was too weird for me. It was creative and unique, I guess, but I don't know. I was just waiting for it to end. But the masks with the asshole mouths, creepy as hell. Then I watched another horror movie that I think is going to be on my list of the best of the year, and that is Huesera, the Bone Woman. This is a Spanish language horror film that's currently streaming on Shudder, and it's about this young woman who becomes pregnant and then she starts experiencing horrifying visions and having these horrifying nightmares, and just she's seeing really crazy, creepy things. She starts to question her life choices and she decides to get involved in some dark magic to help sort things out. So this one is a really interesting story because it's about motherhood and just basically going through life and thinking that you have to meet these certain milestones in your life to be an adult. Like you have to get married, you have to buy a house, you have to get pregnant, and you have to live this certain path in life, and if you deter from that, you're a failure. And I thought that this had some really interesting things to say about that. And this woman, she's going through a lot, and she's really gone through life hiding her actual true identity, and becoming pregnant kind of awakens all of this stuff within her. There's some really haunting visuals in this, and I just think overall the story is really good. There's some creepy moments, some really disturbing stuff, and I think it's a great motherhood slash religious slash body horror movie that everyone should watch this Halloween season. Then I watched There's Something Wrong with the Children. This is streaming on Epix or MGM Plus, I believe, and it stars our boy Zach Gilford from Friday Night Lights, Midnight Mass, QB1. Was he QB1? I don't know. Anyway, this movie is about two couples who are vacationing in like cabins in the woods, and they take their kids out to like hike or some shit, and they find this weird hole in like this weird ass cave, and it's like hypnotizing, and you can tell that the little kids are affected by it, and they're like, whoa, 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 don't go too close. Well, maybe you shouldn't have brought them there, okay? So then later that night, they go home, this family is watching the kids for the other friends because the other friends are having marital problems and they need a night alone. So this couple who's childless by choice, decide to watch these kids for their friends, and things go wrong. These kids, something happens to them and there's something wrong with them, okay? There's something wrong with the children, and the children start messing with them, and it's just chaos from that point on. The little kids in this movie are so fucking annoying. I've never wanted kids less. I wanted the kids to die. All of the characters, aside from Zach Gilford and the woman who plays his wife, are insufferable. They're just the worst. Characters in this movie jump to conclusions too quickly. They're like, oh, he murdered my like, no. Are you real? Do you have thinking skills? Because the people in this are just ridiculous. I liked the whole build up, like, what is happening? What's wrong with these kids? And I liked the idea of this childless couple and how the world is perceiving them. There was some stuff there, but then it pulls in this mental illness trope that I didn't really like. I don't know. I feel like it just kind of falls apart and it became weird. I didn't like where it went with it, but I liked the setup. I don't know. I think it's one of those you can throw on if you're bored and just chill out and not think too hard. But I didn't really like it that much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Zach. I like the ending though. I will say that. Then I watched Jaws, which is a must every July for me. I usually watch it around July 4th. It's an iconic shark movie. The first summer blockbuster, right? I don't know. Steven Spielberg took this book and made it into a masterpiece of a movie. This is about a killer great white shark that's terrorizing this small Amity Island town and the three men who set out to stop it. This one has the most memorable moments, most memorable lines, just iconic cinematography. The shots in this are beautiful and I will never get over this movie. It will never get old to me. I've loved it since I was a little kid and I will love it until the day I die. Then I rewatched Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This movie does not get enough love. It is so creepy and so atmospheric and perfect for the Halloween season. This is based on the popular children's book series, which is scary as hell. It has the scariest illustrations I've ever seen. I also reread the books, by the way. So in the movie, they bring the stories from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark to the screen. And it centers on this group of like misfit kids on Halloween night that enter into this infamous haunted house in their town where this witch was basically killed or died or something. And they basically unleash the curse of this witch and it brings her stories, which are the scary stories to tell in the dark, to life. And the creatures in this movie are terrifying. I think Harold the Scarecrow is really scary. I just love the whole vibe and look of the Scarecrow, and the idea that this kid gets turned into a scarecrow is absolutely terrifying.
Where's my tail?
The visuals in this are just perfect. They're haunting, it's menacing, and it feels scary. They're not afraid to do things to kids, harm kids. And I think that one of the things that makes it a little difficult is that, is it too scary for kids? It might be. It might be too scary for kids. Is this supposed to be for adults or kids? I don't know. I know if I was a kid at that age, I would eat this shit up.
Oh, God.
Then I rewatched a werewolf classic, Ginger Snaps, best werewolf movie of all time. This is about two young sisters. They're outcasts. One night they're out on a full moon and one of them gets bitten by a werewolf. And then over the course of the film, she starts to transform in one. This one has just a funny, witty script, amazing characters and cast. The dynamic between Bridget and Ginger is unmatched. I love watching them together. I have watched this movie so many times, I can quote it word for word, and it just never gets old. I think it's the perfect Halloween watch, and it's just so impressive what the filmmakers were able to accomplish with so little. The werewolf transformation is also incredible. Love it so much. If you don't like it, you can leave, okay? Then I revisited Dark Ride from 2006, which is a part of the After Dark Horror Fest 8 Films to Die For series that was running on in the early 2000s to like the late 2000s. I would love to revisit all of those movies and talk about my favorites with you, so let me know if you're interested in that. But I used to love that series. They'd come out every year with 8 new films from independent horror directors, and this was one of them. It's not very good, but I weirdly like it. So it's about a group of college students who are insufferable. They go on a road trip. They stop at this amusement roadside attraction that has been shut down. And they basically break into it overnight and they spend the night. And obviously they start dying. Stuff starts going off. Jamie Lynn Sigler is in this from The Sopranos. That's all I remember growing up. I was like, oh, she's in this. It must be good. Wrong. It's not that good. The characters are the worst. But it's silly and campy and I don't know, I love the amusement park setting. So it's like a 2-star watch for me, but if you're looking for something fun and sleazy to watch this Halloween season, check that out. It's on Tubi. Then I watched another After Dark Horror Fest movie, Reincarnation. This was a first time watch for me. I had never seen it. It came out in 2005. It's basically about a Japanese actress who's having these strange visions and experiencing these weird things after she lands a role in this horror movie. And the horror movie is about this real life massacre that happened 40 years prior at this hotel. And they decide to film in the actual hotel. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and I think it's a really decent early 2000s J-horror ghost story. There's weird stuff that happens. Some of the stuff is really creepy and disturbing. There's a creepy doll involved. And overall, I think this one was a lot of fun, and I think it's worth revisiting. This one is also on Tubi. Then I watched Cobweb, which I already did a full review of that. I loved this one. I went into it with like no expectations. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew from the trailer that there was like a creepy little kid and he was drawing weird things. I thought, okay, this is gonna be straight up regurgitated creepy kid stuff, but it's not that. It's about this boy who starts hearing these strange noises in his bedroom wall, and when he tells his parents about it, they don't believe him and they brush it off as being a part of his imagination. But over the course of the film, he continues to hear it and he starts to suspect that his parents might be hiding a dark secret. This one starts off as one thing and becomes batshit bonkers by the last act, and that's what I loved about it. The setting, the aesthetic, beautiful. It is set during Halloween. There are pumpkins everywhere. The family has a pumpkin patch in their backyard. So I'm getting all those Halloween vibes that I desperately need in this movie, and it just feels like an elevated grown-up version of Goosebumps / Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark meets Barbarian meets Malignant. The way it goes, and I loved it. It's so crazy and insane. It's campy, it's fun, it's violent, and I just had so much fun with it. And I know a lot of people won't like it, but if you liked Malignant, I think you will. So check this one out, please, and watch it for the Halloween season. It's a perfect Halloween movie. Then I watched Megan. So Megan is about this toy roboticist or something, and she decides to make a AI child. This child is Megan. She gives Megan to her young niece, who comes into her life unexpectedly, and they bond, like hardcore bonding, and Megan's programming kind of goes haywire. This one was very fun, very campy, cheesy, over the top. It very much reminded me of the Child's Play remake from I think 2019. AI Gone Wrong. Megan is sure to become a horror icon because she's just funny and cool, and there's just moments in this movie that made me laugh, the way Megan reacts to the situation, and of course the iconic dance number. And yeah, I thought it was fun. It's enjoyable, it's entertaining, I think it did what it set out to do. Then I rewatched Smile, which was one of my favorite movies from last year. I love this movie so much. It's so good. It's about this psychiatrist who has a very traumatic event with a patient who unalives herself in front of her, and then she believes that this passes on some type of curse where she's basically gonna kill herself. Like, that's the curse. And she sets out to investigate how to stop it. I love that whole mystery of figuring out what's this curse, how do I stop it. I love Sosie Bacon. She's fantastic in this. The emotion that she displays throughout this movie is just so intense, so good. And I love that she teams up with Kyle Gallner's character to figure out the case. I think he's fantastic in this. And it's just brutal and violent and scary and disturbing. And the finale is insane. It went to places I was not expecting, and just seeing that whole thing take place and the fact that they accomplished it, and I think a lot of it was practical, it's mind-blowing to me. I love it so much. I think that it has some interesting things to say about trauma and depression, although it feels very much hopeless. So I think if you're don't watch this if you're depressed, because it will probably make you feel worse. But anyway, I like that they don't explain too much about the mythos, but I do like what they did explain about the mythos. So I really do hope we get a sequel and we learn more about it. I really loved it. I loved it. I ended things off with another Kyle Gallner film called Mother May I. So this is about a young guy who returns to his childhood home after the death of his mother, and he brings along his fiance, who's got some issues of her own. They both got some issues. And they do this weird role-playing therapy thing that his girlfriend learned from her therapist's mother, where they basically they'll play each other and essentially say what's bothering them, what they think their issues are, and so forth and so on, whatever the hell that saying is. For some reason, his fiance starts acting very much like his late mother. And it's a very psychological, weird character study. Not a lot of creepy stuff happens. There is some creepy stuff, but there wasn't enough of the horror element to me. And the thing that kept me going is the performance of these two actors. I love Kyle Gallner. The person who plays his fiance is, what's her name? Holland Roden from Teen Wolf. She's fantastic. And I liked watching the transformation into his deceased mother. It's scary that they're in isolation and there's a lot of things revealed, but ultimately it didn't really do much for me. I found myself clocking out a lot throughout the movie, so I did like the idea. I loved the two actors, but I don't know if it's worth watching. And there you have it. Those are all of the horror movies I've watched recently. We're getting into spooky season here, so let me know what horror movie videos you want to see from me. Let me know if you checked out any of the movies I discussed in this video, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I will catch you next time. Bye.